Romulus-Quirinus, whom I shall now call Roma-Q, is a 5-star limited servant. Roma-Q differs from the 3-star Romulus because the servant doesn't carry a giant Q-tip around. But who is the strange imposing figure really? This video will give you the answers while not spoiling anything, or at least too much, about the servant. Roma-Q is a Lancer-class servant who became a 5-star servant after taking off that 3-star helmet. In this form, all attacks gain more poking power. Taking off the helmet didn't change the chaotic neutral alignment though. Incidentally, Roma-Q's gender changes from male to unknown. Why? Becoming a 5-star means that biological traits and social positions no longer apply. Though this one's significantly stronger as a servant in this form as a 5-star, Roma-Q has lost the star attribute and exchanged it for the sky attribute. This is rather important for story purposes, so I'll avoid that part. In-game, this means that Roma-Q will now take more damage from Gilgamesh's Enuma Elish. The king and male traits are lost and exchanged for divine and weak to Enuma Elish. Roma-Q's card deck also trades out a single quick card for an arts card, making the deck now QAABB. Now let's talk about Roma-Q's active skills.
From first to last, he is able to use Throne of Quirinus EX, Divinity Transformation B, and a really long name shooting the 100 heads Roma style A.
Roma-Q's skill set is heavily focused on buster critical hits. His first skill gives him a sizable attack and critical strength buffs, while also giving it to allies with the Roman trait. His second skill gives him some critical stars, and his third skill boosts his buster effectiveness while also giving him increased star gathered rate. But what does he lose? He is unable to use Natural Body C or Wind of Romance B+, Imperial Privilege EX, and Septem Coes A, meaning he can't give another ally the Guts buff anymore. However, even though he loses his debuff resistance active ability, his magic resistance passive skill is upgraded from B to A rank, boosting its resistance from 17.5% to 20%.
His natural body skill apparently became part of Divinity Transformation, even though it is clearly significantly different.
He also gains 2 other passive skills. One is Independent Action B+, boosting his critical damage by 9%, and the other is Divinity of the Chief God B+, increasing his own damage by 225 and his buster performance by 9%.
2 of Roma-Q's active skills, Throne of Quirinus and Shooting the 100 Heads Roma style, can make his enemies Roman, meaning that one upset rider can make the entire party do more damage to your enemies.
His skills are dedicated to doing damage, helping your party become one with Rome. His previous noble phantasm, Magna Voluus Magnum, All Things Lead to My Spear, changes to the much longer Per Aspera ad Astra, Our Arms Cut a Path Across the Universe. Though it doesn't buff the party's attack anymore, it instead makes his allies and enemies become Roman. This is more significant in the long run, so there isn't much reason to use Roma over Roma-Q. Unless, of course, you haven't summoned Roma-Q and want to feel like you do have him. Most of Roma-Q's stats changes when he becomes a 5-star servant. His agility stays the same at A rank, but his endurance decreases from A to C.
His noble phantasm increases in rank from A++ to EX. His strength also increases from B rank to A rank. His mana increases from C to B++, and his luck skyrockets from B to EX.
His Bondcraft essence also changes from a helmet that increases the party's noble phantasm damage by 20% to 2 arms that increases the attack of Roman allies by 20%. More importantly, increasing his bond levels will give you more Saint Quartz. That's the real prize here. Now for the big question. What is Quirinus? Quirinus, according to Faith, is one of the big 3 Roman gods, alongside Jupiter and Mars. It could also mean wielder of the spear, though he doesn't carry around a Q-tip. The reason for this is that his Lancer status is more symbolic, with his arms described as lances of light that tear the world apart, opening a way to civilization and hopefully one day reach the stars. Plus his 9 lives Roma fighting style involves creating sharp energy projectiles like they were lances. Did you know that this Roma is 5 centimeters shorter than the other Roma? He also loses a lot of weight, from 140 kilograms to 73 kilograms.
This small tidbit might spoil you, so I'll leave it at that. His shooting the 100 heads Roma style is a noble phantasm that derives from the idea that Heracles is Roma Q's dad.
His profile mentions a legend which claims that Heracles was Romulus' father instead of Mars, giving a possible reason why he has his own version of 9 lives. If you have Heracles, Roma Q says that while he is not his father, it is as if he was. The noble phantasm that he does use, per aspera ad astra, is apparently the same as the noble phantasm everything leads to my spear he uses as a 3-star servant, even though it clearly isn't. Apparently, it could be used to defend, but this isn't implemented in-game since Fate doesn't want you to forget your eggplant. Instead, it makes use of the highest Lancer attack stat in the game to decimate your enemies and farm those materials. It's a pity that his ability to make your enemies Roman is a debuff, since a lot of powerful enemies in the story just happen to be heavily resistant to debuffs. The idea behind this noble phantasm is the concept of development and expansion of a civilization, implemented as a noble phantasm. Though I'm happy this 3-star servant became a 5-star, I'm rather upset that it means his rates are slimmer and the opportunity to summon him is limited. But that's a problem for far in the future. Currently, the global version of FGO isn't even on the 2nd Lost Belt yet, which means that many players are likely saving up for a certain caster class servant.
I wish I could have talked more about his background, but that could potentially spoil some important information for Lost Belt 5.
If you like this video, please remember to give a like and subscribe. If you just like my voice, then give a like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. If you want to know more about another servant, then leave a comment and I'll work on that next.